Hello everyone, my name is Alex Limentuev. I'm a lead software developer from GameHouse, and most of the time I work on GPN SDK and extension native plugins, and Marmalade is one of these plugins. Right now we support 6 platforms: native iOS, Android, Unity, Adobe Air, Corona, Marmalade. We're gonna add support to GameMaker and Coco to the X as well. So today I'm gonna show you how easy it is to integrate the GPN SDK into your Marmalade title. So I'm gonna share my screen now. So I'm gonna start with a short overview of Marmalade, tool sets and pipeline, how you build it, how you deploy it to the platform, just to show it to people who might be not familiar, or just to refresh the memory for you. So basically, here's our Marmalade test project. It's called Block Slot. This is a Tetris-like game, and as you can see in the project root, we have Marmalade project file, which is basically a plain text file. We can take a look. You can see all the assets you need, like splash screen, icons, UI elements, then deployment options, source files, and any stuff you may need. Okay, among the sources, this is a C++ based game, so mostly CPP and header files, assets, and wherever. Okay, so right now we're gonna go and build the project and see how it looks. So to do that, we just double click on the project. Wait a bit, it takes from 5 to 15 seconds to build, so it's building right now. All right, so we're working on Mac right now, so it generates an Xcode project for us. You can see here the project file itself, along with some files we may need. So basically, when you work on your title in Marmalade, you use Marmalade Simulator to test your code. So we're gonna do it now. We're gonna run it and see how it looks. So it's a pretty simple game. Just drop figures. I'm gonna lose miserably. Oh no, I lost. So okay, that's it. So right now we're gonna integrate GPN. We're gonna close that. We're gonna go back to the project file, and this is how it looks. Like when you sign up for our promotional network, you basically have two things, like your app ID and our SDK shipped as a zip archive. So we're gonna unpack it now. When you got it, you have README, which contains integration instructions. So we're gonna open on GitHub to see this nice fancy formatting. So basically, it's two huge steps. The first one, you need to tell Marmalade that we're gonna use our extension here. So our SDK ships two versions: debug and release. Debug contains some fancy developer-related stuff, just to troubleshoot, see how stuff works inside. We don't need it right now. So we're gonna take this release folder and drop it into the Marmalade project root. Okay, we're done. So after that, we need to add a step project to our Marmalade project file. So we copy this line, we go back, open the project file, your favorite text editor, and I'm gonna put it here. This line basically tells Marmalade that, okay, we're going to use that. We're going to use that subproject. It's a native extension. Next small step, it's kind of optional. It's optional as it's iOS only. So if you target your game just for Android, you don't need that. But for our test purposes, we're going to do it. You need to update your deployment section. Basically, you need to tell Marmalade which frameworks our extension is going to use. So it's just couple more lines. Okay, we're done on the project side. We can go back and rebuild. We double click. All right, so here we have our projects, and we can see that our extension actually here is present. So we go and gonna check the game sources. So it's simple game written in C++. So this is the main file, which is application entry point. You can see a main function, some Marmalade initialization logic, and a main loop. So what we basically need to do, API usage is basically 3 steps. First, we initialize GPN. Second, we ask for some interstitials, like we start requesting them. And the third one, we actually present it when it's a good time to do so. So let's go to the first one. First of all, we grab this GPN helper and header file, and we're going to drop it to our project here. So basically, we did a good job of hiding all the low-level stuff like function pointers, callback registrations, exit return codes, and stuff like that in like really simple stuff, like just drop header, call some API, and don't think about it. So, okay. We're also going to take this constant, drop it here. This is the way to tell GPN that we want it to be in debug or release mode. So usually it's done with preprocessor macro and stuff like that. So when you build your project, you actually set it on the compile time. But just to make it more clear, we're going to define a global constant and set it to true, because yes, we want GPN to be in debug mode right now, but you should make sure you should set it to false when you go for release build. All right. So the best place to initialize GPN is actually your application start. So this is your main function. As you can see, it has like two parts. The first one is Marmalade initialization, UI setup, and all the stuff. You should go for it first. Then you can see the main loop. It's where you pull for events, you render stuff, and you do everything you need, like game logic, user input, whatever. So this is like the best place to do GPN initialization, and it's basically just a couple of simple calls. I'm gonna take this code snippet and we're gonna paste here. So what we do here, first of all, we check if GPN is available on the platform right now. This step is optional. If GPN is not available, for example, we build for Windows, Mac, Windows Phone, any other platform, any GPN calls will do nothing. It's just gonna fail silently, so nothing gonna happen. But sometimes your flow may depend on it. So, for example, you check if GPN is available. If it is, you do some fancy logic and stuff. But it's not, you just go and run your fallback code, depending on what your application does. Okay. So here's the place when you set your app IDs. So in this case, we're gonna have two builds, one for iOS and one for Android. We're gonna use our default app IDs 0. It's our testing app IDs, and you should not use it. I repeat, you should not use it in your production apps, because you're gonna have impressions, but you're not. It will give you nothing. So it's only for testing purposes. When you sign up for our network, you got the real ID. It's like way longer, like a bunch of weird characters and stuff like that. So if you don't need, for example, iOS ID, you just comment it out. If you don't need Android, you do the same. All right. So you make this API call. It's called GPN helper init. You pass your app IDs and you set your debug mode flag here. So, for example, in this case, it is true, but make sure you set it to false for release build. All right. It was the first step, and now we can build it and see what happens. We build it and we fail. We don't use function pointers for callbacks because it's kind of messy. Those, like in Marmalade, native callbacks accept like 2 void pointers and 2 integers, and it returns an integer, and you get like, what I'm going to do with that? So instead of that, we declared a couple of callback functions in our GPN helper header. So if you're not going to add those functions, if you're not going to define them in your code, you can't go any further. So, all right, let's make it happy. Let's make the linker happy. You just copy this code snippet, and you can put it anywhere you want. For example, just keep it consistent. We're going to put it in our main file. All right. So what we have 5 callbacks functions. We can build and see if, yeah, the linker is happy now. The first one is GPN on received. This is called when your SDK actually got something to show. This is like from this point you can present the ad. You only should like call you only start requesting interstitial once, and SDK handles all the rotation for you. So GPN on receive is going to be called multiple times each time you have something else to show. Second one is on failed. If anything wrong happens, you should know about it, and usually you just call some logic just to restart a request and add. I'm going to show it a bit later. Two more opened and closed callbacks. It's like a good time to pause the game if you interrupt user flow with the add. So just make sure user will not lose any progress. You show a fancy pause screen, anything else you may want to. GPN on closed is quite an opposite. You need to resume your game. Like when the add goes away, it's good to go for game again. And the last one, but not the least, is iOS specific. Is when your device runs on low memory, we try to save your app from crashing. So if we receive the memory warning callback, we kill everything we have. Like we close the add, we freeze the memory, so we just try to not crash your app. And in this case, you're going to have this callback, and you must request interstitials again at this point. I'm going to show you how to do that. So back to our initialization logic. It was the first step in the API integration. Okay, so after you've done your initialization, you need to actually start requesting anything like interstitial you may need. So this is a big fancy code block. It does pretty much the same. It checks if it's available, and then it makes the call. So basically, we don't need that because like our sample is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Usually what you do in your real game is just you initialize GPN on the app start, then you do a bunch of resource loading, you consume a lot of memory, and after it's done, you may want to start requesting those interstitials, and you should split like initialization and requesting just to avoid those memory peaks. So you may want to load your resources first and then request for something. Okay, so but our sample is really simple. So we're gonna do it right away. So this is init call. Let's just start requesting call. This is the first step. All right. So the last step, we actually need to present interstitial, and this is not a good practice to interrupt user game flow with the add. You're gonna distract user and make him angry. So like the best place to do that is actually like a level break or game over. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab this call and we're gonna go back to our game and try to find a good place to do it. So I'm gonna open game C++ file, and first of all, I'm gonna include my header. All right, and then we're gonna try to find the exact moment game ends. We're gonna search for game over. Probably not that one, no. That's it. So this is the exact place where game ends when we assign a mode variable to mode game over. So we're gonna call for present function here. So basically this is it. This is all you need to do to integrate GPN. It's super simple. It doesn't require to do any low-level C stuff like function pointers, callback registrations. You don't need to check your return code from your function calls to see if they succeed or not. So we wrap it nicely for you. So, okay, right now we're going to try to build it and to deploy it to platforms we need. So for this one, we're going to use Marmalade deploy tool, and I'm going to tell you a little something about it just to show you a quick overview. So we're going to run it. Okay, so to build for device, we need to pick an ARM architecture. Go next. This is a build configuration. We go for default here, and this is like platform selection screen. So right now we're gonna go for Android and iOS. Okay, next. It's more configuration options like generic options. We don't need to do anything here. Okay, you can put like a version number, some titles, copyrights. we don't need to do that for our educational purposes. So we go back. The next one, we can see Android configuration screen. It's mostly like icons, sign up, like key stores, and all the stuff needed for Android publishing. We go one step forward and we can see iPhone options. It's launch images, icons, just pretty much the same. All right, so next we actually go to deployment section. And when I hit deploy, I'm going to have two packages, one for iOS and one for Android. So let's do it. All right, so we're done. We can actually go and check what we have here. So this is our generated project. We can see a deployment folder here, our configuration name, and two deployments, basically Android and iPhone. So on iPhone, we can see IPA file, and for Android, we're going to see APK file. So like it's going to be really good to actually hook up a device and show it, but we can't do that. But we can use Android simulator for this purpose. So here's the guy. I'm going to upload our final application on it, play a game, end it, and try to see some ads. All right, we got it. We open our application section and we can see this nice icon. We're going to launch it. So what you can see here is a Marmalade debug loader. You're not going to see it in your production apps, so no worries about it. Okay, so when we start our game, we actually call for GPN initialization, and we started requesting the ads. So at this moment, GPN already requests some ads in the background. When it's done, you're gonna call on receive callback, and you may go after it, but we don't do that. We just request and try to present it when ready, when our game ends. So, all right, it ends, and we can see our ad. This is our really basic ad. Like we used our debug app ID 0. So this is like the least you can have. It's a static image here. It's an install button, but you can do it on the simulator. It only supported on device. And we do have video ads as well. So you can upload a couple of static images for your game, as well as a short video for your game play, marketing stuff, or anything else you want. And you only need to upload a single video file. So we keep, like we do everything, just optimization, screen sizes, so you don't need to think about it. Just upload single video and we do the rest. So our ad is highly adaptive. So no matter which device, screen size, or resolution you run, it's always going to be good. For example, this is a portrait orientation, and we can go and rotate it. And as you can see, the ad adapts to its needs. So even when you rotate it, it's going to be good look. This particular sample is for Google Play Store only. We also support Amazon Marketplace. So it's going to be like Amazon icon here, and when you click install button, it's going to drive it to Amazon App Store app. So we can close it and you can do your game again. It's going to rotate it for you. Usually it takes about like 3 to 5 minutes to rotate, but our test, again. Our test app ID tries to rotate it faster. We're going to try to end the game again. Okay, we failed, and we got the edit pretty much the same because we use our app ID 0. Right now we have like 350 live titles, so we're going to see something else. All right, so this is integration steps. I can also tell you something about our SDK advantages, what makes it so cool compared to other SDKs. We ended up with the idea of running a generic JavaScript engine. So basically, all the SDK changes are server-side. If we need to fix something, we fix it on the server side and you get it. So you don't need to send an update. You don't need to publish it to App Store, like wait for 2 weeks and make sure all your users get it. We just make it for you, and you will not ever know if we did any changes. We only ship SDK updates when we need to add some baked-in native functionality, which we can do on JavaScript level, or to fix anything bad which never happened before. Okay, so I can always tell you a couple of words about integration and callbacks. So when you got this on failed, it may be for many reasons, mostly because of like internet connection failed or anything else. So basically you need to restart your request. So usually you don't want to do it like right away, because if you don't have internet, if you're going to do it like too often, you're going to go nowhere. So you got to make this call, but you need to think about logic on how to delay it, probably a timer or something else. And you need to do pretty much the same on kill low memory stuff. So you make sure if something bad happens, you're going to have your ads again. But this is the only place when you should call GPN helper start request a second time, because basically you just do it once. It's maybe on the application starts after your resources are loaded, and the SDK itself handles everything for you, so you don't need to think about it. Like every time it gets new ad, it's gonna call GPN receive. So basically that's it. You can see it's pretty simple. It doesn't require any magic. It's compiler enforced, like linker enforced. If you don't do, like if you forget to add callbacks, for example, it's gonna warn you. So that's it. Thank you guys.